Welcome to Living, what do we call this? Stronger and Living Longer. We've looked at our science section for our first component here, and now we're going to look at an amazing book written by the ancient Hebrew prophet Daniel. Now, Daniel lived about 500 years before Christ, and so this particular book, which has been extensively researched archaeologically and been shown to be very accurate, is what we're going to study. We've looked at the science, now we're looking at the scriptures, okay? Now, a couple ground rules before we begin, Jack, Timothy, Karen, Joseph, Dusty, Candace, and Vera, and that is, what we're going to do is, I have about 5 questions I'm going to ask in this segment. We're going to interact, and we want to get interaction. So if you're going to say something, try not to talk over someone else, and yet we want to get good interaction. As I ask you to read the text, I'm going to give you, the person who read, first dibs on answering a question. And then I'm going to open it up to other people, okay? So that's what we're going to do. Now, why do I do that? Because some of you just have so much to say that nobody else would have anything else to say. And some of you have so little to say that we would never uncover the beautiful gems and ore of thought in your mind, okay? So that's kind of our game plan. So let's turn now right there to Daniel in your Bible, kind of like right here. If you're looking, it's almost near the New Testament, pretty close to the New Testament, but you go back a little bit and you find Daniel, okay? And we're going to start with Jack. And Jack's going to read for us. I'm giving him kind of a assignment here because it has a bunch of names in it that are sometimes hard for people to pronounce. If you come to a name, Jack, that you can't pronounce, just give us the first letter. Don't worry so much about pronouncing it. If you stumble over it, it's okay. So let's start. And Jack, you're going to read Daniel chapter 1, verse 1 through 7. Go ahead.
In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand with some of the articles of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar, to the house of his God, and he brought the articles into the treasure house of his God. Then the king instructed Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, to bring some of the children of Israel, and some of the king's descendants, and some of the nobles, young men in whom there was no blemish, but good-looking, gifted in all wisdom, possessing knowledge and quick to understand, who had ability to serve in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the language and literature of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed for them a daily provision of the king's delicacies, and of the wine which he drank, and 3 years of training for them, so that at the end of that time they might serve before the king. Now from among those of the sons of Judah were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. To them the chief of the eunuchs gave names. He gave Daniel the name Belteshazzar, to Hananiah Shadrach, and Mishael Meshach, and to Azariah Abednego.
All right, Jack, thank you. You did very well with those names. And by the way, just for those watching, you know, I really have never met these people before, okay? And this is the first time we didn't do any pre-work, did we? You don't even know what's going to happen next. And that's exactly the way I want that, because I want to get this idea of, you know, what happens in real time. So you read that. I have a question for you. What are the 2 major forces that are fighting with each other here?
Major force.
Yeah, major powers. I think in verse 1 it talked about
King Nebuchadnezzar, and we have the people of Jerusalem, it looks like.
Okay, so you got these 2 main powers. You have the king of Babylon, and you've got Judah. All right? You got those 2 powers. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I want to give you another concept. Every single chapter in Daniel moves from a disappointment to an appointment, a depressing disappointment to a wonderful appointment, okay? Mm-hmm. Get this idea. Now, in this particular 7 verses here, Jack, this is another question for you. What was the king attempting to do, and how was he attempting to do it? What would you say, Jack?
I would say he was trying to change their identity.
Okay, so he was trying to change their identity, all right? So their identity. And how was he trying to do it? Let me open it up to everyone else. Anyone else have an idea that you want to share? Yes, Dustin.
Giving them Babylonian names.
Okay, so he tried to change their identity by giving them Babylonian names, okay? So he changed their names. We're going to come back to that. Any other ways? How else did he try and accomplish this? Karen?
He changed what they ate.
Okay, so their food. He changed their food, right? He gave them the king's food, right? You could say he opened a Burger King. So the king's food. The king's food, right? And then what else? Anything else? Yes.
The literature of the Chaldeans, so their training and
Okay, so he gave them education. He gave them education, and you said it was the literature of the Chaldeans. All right, that's kind of interesting because, you know, they had a bunch of letters in their alphabet. You know, in the English alphabet, how many letters do we have in the alphabet?
26.
Yeah, in the Hebrew alphabet, there's like 22. But in their language, they had all kinds of them. It was like, I met someone who read that ancient language, and he could only do it for a few years because it was so much to keep in your mind. Have you heard that song? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Well, it went on for like 10 years. So that was something. Education, identity, food. Anything else that you see in those first 7 verses there? Food, what goes with that? When you eat food, usually.
What they drank.
All right, so yes, the king's drink, right? So the food that he ate and what he drank. Now let me ask you a question. What was the king ultimately trying to do besides change their identity? Was he being mean to them, or what was he trying to do? Yes.
He was trying to add them to the school of wise men.
All right, he added them to the school of wise men, but his approach, was he being mean? What was he really trying to do? Yeah.
He wanted representatives from
Okay,
his
yeah.
kingdom to the Jews.
I think that's great, but how was he doing it? Like if you give someone food and drink and education, is that mean?
No.
What was he trying to do?
He was helping them.
He was trying to help them. He was trying to
Win
win
their hearts.
their hearts, right? So he's trying to win their hearts. Let me ask you a question. How is it, and we're going to talk, all of us here, how is it that you win someone's heart? Anybody here married? Okay. Oh, wow. All right, you're married. So how, Candace, did your husband win your heart?
By spending time with me.
All right, he was spending time with you. And what did he do when he spent time with you?
Sometimes buy me things, give me things.
All right, he buy you things. And Joseph, you were on the other side of this, not that you're married to Candace, but you have a wife. What kind of things did you buy your wife? What did you do to win her heart?
The thing she's interested in.
Okay, what's she interested in?
Well, she's interested in horses. So
You bought her a horse.
Yeah.
All right.
Just recently
Okay,
we got a horse.
everyone
yeah.
out there, this is how you do it. You buy a horse. But right when you were first dating, I mean, what did you do? I mean, was it a horse on the first date?
No, that may
Well,
have been a good move and saved time. We mostly spent time together. She was more into walking, hiking, that kind of thing.
All right, walking, hiking, spending time together. Well, what else would you do? Just think about the very practical things that you would do to win someone's heart.
Go to dinner.
Oh my! How many think this is a good idea? Now, what if someone says, Timothy? Let's say you ask someone out. I noticed that you potentially are not married, and you say, "Hey, look, I'd like to go out to eat," and the lady says, "You know what? I'm really not hungry today." And then you come back the next day and you say, "Would you like to get a bite?" She goes, "You know, I don't think I'm ever going to be hungry in your presence." What does that mean? What does that mean?
Doesn't like you.
Doesn't like you. Well, would you like a drink? No. I haven't been having anything to drink in years, right? So it's kind of food and drink is a way to do what? Win someone's
heart.
heart. What else? What else do you do when you're trying to win someone's heart? Spend time with them. Some of you said you talk together, but what do you talk about?
Common interests.
And what are those common interests?
Well, depend on the couple.
That depends on the couple, but let's say with you. What did you feel it was important to talk about to your wife?
Goals in life, hobbies, spiritual thoughts.
All right, so let's take that hobbies one for a minute. What did you do to make sure she knew about your hobbies? What did you do?
Camping, dirt bikes.
Right, don't tell me what the hobbies are, but what did you do to see if she was interested?
I'd talk to her, ask her.
ask her and explain.
do
it.
you like
You
to
know what
do,
that
yeah.
is? What you were doing was not just food and drink. You took it to the level of what? Education. You were educating. Well, would you listen to this? Do you like that kind of music? So do I. You don't? Listen to it again. You know, right? Because you're trying to do what? You're
Connect.
trying to connect, right?
Right.
And you educate each other. You know, you're like, well, you need to go talk to my parents. Why? They have a few questions. You know, what's important to me?